So we have taken that repeated code we had at the top level, managed to put it into a function so it's not repeated, and we can have test cases for it. In the file we saw, we actually had the function sitting there. Had a bunch of test cases in comments. That's not so good. Let's just take the 10 minutes or so of this video and just do stuff we've already talked about and we already know about, but just rearrange some of the file structure a little bit. Starting with my program defining the function, and then it calls the string invalid message. And as I noted, we're going to leave this checkbox check separate for the moment. And then we go down and start the actual HTML file down here. So once we have these calls separate, though, it's a little bit nicer. We can it'll be a little bit more clear that I can take this bit and I can actually, the place where I probably want to put that, the place where I want to print any error messages isn't before I print an HTML tag, right? I want to print an HTML tag, finish off the head, then at the top of the body, that's where I want to go ahead and print out any error messages right at the top of the form. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. Did I manage to delete a semicolon there? No, it's sitting there. It's just off screen. Okay, so great. We can't run the test cases because I don't want to uncomment these test cases, because when somebody handles the form, it's not when we want to run the tests for string invalid message. So just like we did with utils and utils test, we're going to pull out the code into its own file and the tests into its own file. Now, I could put this into the code into utils.php and the tests into utils test. But you know, this strikes me as a little bit different. Utils was general purpose utilities. This is a function, and I'm probably going to have a few more of them for checkboxes and so on for the homework, that are specific to validating forms. So just like in Java, I would go ahead and have a separate package or something like that for all the validation classes that I have. We'll go ahead and make a separate file for all the validation functions. I think that's reasonable. So we'll go ahead. I've actually gone ahead and done that. I have validate.php. It has that string invalid message, and that's all that it has inside of it. Okay, and then validate test goes ahead and requires validate, and then goes ahead and runs all those tests that I had. And now I can go ahead and just run my tests standalone. That's good. And my form, or the form handler rather, now goes ahead and does a couple of requires, and then echo string invalid message, and so on. In fact, these are the 5 lines of code that I sort of decided a moment ago in the other file really should probably be sitting here at the top of the body. So, and this now just reads tighter. The form handler is not filled with test cases or defining a bunch of functions. It's just, hey, I am here to validate the form, and it gets right down to business. So, okay, sounds good. What else do we want to do to be able to test this? We want to be able to test the form handler. Well, of course, I can go to the form and type in, what is your request to finish watching this video without falling asleep. What is your favorite color? Burnt sienna. Blah, 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 blah. Make sure I'm over 15 characters, etc. Okay. Gosh, making this more than 1,000 characters, that's too much of a pain, so I won't do that. I want to go ahead and get the here, so I get the can't be more than 20 characters. It's 32 characters too long. Can't be more than 15 characters long. Is 21 characters too long? And you're right, we want to have the field message being named here. That'll actually be, I lied a little bit, that'll be in the next video where we'll set up to name that field in a way that's a little bit nicer than having to pass in the name of the field only so it can get used in the error message. So we'll see next time how to do that. Great, and I want to test other variations, make sure they work. Gosh, I have to go to the form and type in more stuff and try. Wait, how did we want to test handlers? Oh, right, yeah, we had. We're going to make some more files, okay? So I have my handle, and I'll go ahead and make a file called form0, and I'll call it handle test. I'm not going to think too hard about this. I'm going to take the name of the handler and add test1, test2, test3. Okay, so, and what does this look like? It's a pretty simple PHP program. It's going to be 2 lines long. It's going to be, hey, underscore post gets. And now I'm going to go ahead and make some array with quest goes, copy and paste. There we are. And favorite color is maps to burnt sienna and burnt ochre and burnt umber. Okay. Yeah, so, and what else do we have? We have the checkbox is happy. So I'm going to say, hey, that box is checked, and we had message was the very last one. Okay, I like, you may have noticed this before, putting my commas, well, if I can get them lined up just right. Actually, I could put them with the commas at the end of each line. You'll sort of see this, people using this notation occasionally. Putting the comma before, well, that's kind of odd. Putting the comma right before the next line. I mean, I'm just changing where the comma fits. This comma is actually ending the preceding line. I like doing like this because when I come along and want to add more fields, it's real easy to add or remove lines in this format, especially because I tend to add or remove near the end. So, but regardless, that's an explanation of why you sometimes see people do this. Okay, so, and what do we do? That was one line, make a post array, and then, oh yeah, require form0 validated handle.php. Okay, and once I've done one of these, it's now easy to just copy that. Use some Unix tricks and some curly brackets. I can copy this to a file named version 2, and then I go edit version 2, and I may request something that isn't too long, but does have a space maybe. So, favorite color I might leave too long. Is happy, should I go ahead and test something different for is happy? Yeah, remember we talked about how an attacker can bypass your form and they can provide any key value pairs they want to your form handler. So, yeah, this is an easy way to do that. I can't really do that by typing things in the form and hitting submit. I'd have to like do what an attacker would do, of make a copy of the form, etc. I don't want to do that. Hey, this will help me nicely. And you know, the message being more than 1,000 characters, I can actually go ahead and now I can actually go ahead and do that. I can do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now I can 20 long, 30, 40, 50, 50 long. Make that line 50, 100. So I'm 100 characters long, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. Okay. Hey, make sure exactly 1,000 is going to be okay. Okay. So, gosh, I think that's exactly 1,000. I'll have to look at my cut paste, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly 1,000. And I can do this, and now I can go ahead and again make a third one. So this is stuff we've all talked about, but just a reminder, hey, we can go ahead and do this work, make it one character longer, exclamation point at the end, and now that one will be too long, and so on. So that's just a reminder. We can go ahead and put things into different files. We probably should do that so we can have our tests for our functions, so our functions in one file, unit tests in another, and then when we have a form handler, have these handle test files as well. Okay, and I can go ahead and say PHP form. I don't have to be over the web. Validated handle test3.php. Of course, when I print it like this, it's going to spew out a bunch of HTML. And I think, as I've mentioned before, there's two ways I can do it. I can put it on the web and visit the URL on the web. That's one easy way to do it. Let me go ahead and do that right now. So this make sync, I'm using a make file that actually just synchronizes files between my home computer and the class web server. So yeah, new, so don't worry about this. This is just me getting those files over to the H drive. And now I can go ahead and type in the URL. You can't see the window, but form0 validated handle test1.php, and I get this output here. Okay, and then do the test3, and oh yeah, sure enough, I get them. Can't be more than 1,000 characters. One character too long. Is one character's, the string I typed is 1 character's too long. That doesn't look very good, does it? That's not very impressive. People are not going to get a lot of confidence if my error messages talk about 1 characters. Can we fix that? Yeah, let's go ahead and fix that right now. Go ahead and look at the this is now my validate code, and here's, I didn't plan on this, but this is one place where I'm going to have to just change my code once, whereas if I'd had the repeated code for 3 fields, I would have had to do a bunch of copy paste now. Is blank, is XSLN characters too long? I'm going to say this is, and then I want the number, that many characters, and then too long. And how do we get that? Oh, we call pluralize on XSLN and character. So this is a perfect example of, hey, using that function pluralize in a real context. 1 character or 2 characters too long. Make sure I have some spaces there. Okay. So yeah. Remember, my unit tests hadn't really caught this because I was being a little bit sloppier with my unit tests. I sort of said, hey, I just wanted to make sure this string invalid message is either returning a string or it's returning a Boolean, and I didn't really get into the details of what the test message was, so I kind of missed that. But by doing this other test, I managed to improve my form. Does it work? I could again move the files over and test it over the web URL. The other thing I can do is I can run that test handler and save the output to a file. And then again, I can then open that file in my browser. So, and sure enough, is 1 character too long? So my bug really did fix it. So, or my calling of pluralize did fix that little bug. Okay, so again, this is just a reminder to, yeah, I guess we know to put our code in a separate file in the tests, and then the file that calls it, whether it's silly page or form handler. But I guess the one maybe surprising nuance was, hey, I'm not going to put it into utils and utils tests because these are validation functions. I'm going to be having several validation functions. So let's not put everything into utils. We'll put general purpose utility functions into utils and validation functions into their own file. And then just reminding ourselves about the form handler test. Okay, so next time we're going to go ahead and restructure the code a little bit more and figure out how to get the error messages presented a little bit better and have our code structured better as well. So I'll see you momentarily.